the AI tool that we have called Navvy AI is a really great piece of technology that we've worked with the Impactica team to develop. And basically what it does is the tool integrates with student data in your enrollment systems to identify eligible students who are likely eligible for SNAP, and it does it all automatically. So the old way of doing this would be sending out blast emails to the whole campus. It would be putting, posters up and hoping that the right students that need the benefit and aren't enrolled in it see your marketing and see the outreach strategies that you're doing. And it's hard to target those students because often some of the students that are most likely to be eligible for SNAP are the students that are hardest to reach because they're working long hours, they're juggling multiple jobs, they're not hanging around the campus and reading every email that your institution is sending to them. What Navvy AI does is cuts all that marketing out, or a lot of that marketing out, so that the students that do qualify are identified through the information that you already have on students, and then tailored outreach messages are able to be sent to that student that say, hey, student X, you're eligible for SNAP because of X, Y, and or Z. Here's how you apply. Here's the next steps. And basically what the system does after that is it doesn't just leave that student there hanging and just says, hey, follow, go apply for SNAP on your own. It provides nudges and prompts to help the student through the process of applying. So if a student has indicated that they haven't applied after a couple weeks, the system's able to follow up with that student and see if they're encountering any issues, they're having difficulties with documents. And this is really fueled by an AI-driven chatbot feature that's able to integrate directly over the web with the student, but also through some SMS and email messaging. So I'll pass it over to the Impactica team who developed the tool and see if they have anything that they want to share or add about how Navvy works and how college campuses that want to utilize the tool, how they can, what that would look like.
Thanks, Owen. Hi, everyone. I think what we could do actually is a small demo, if that's helpful. What I'll do is to set the stage a little bit, we'll walk you through what the experience is like for a university employee to be using the system, and then we'll walk through what the user experience is like for the student as well, from when they find out about their potential eligibility, as well as actually the application process itself. So just bear with me while I start sharing screen. Give me a thumbs up if you could see it. Excellent. So really, once you've signed up with us, we get you set up with a login. I mean, this is a pretty similar experience for any sort of web-based service. We definitely take setup and security very seriously. So we're also requiring two-factor authentication. We can integrate with your university's SSO system if necessary, but this is something this is what it would be like if you were to do it just right off the shelf. So this is really your operational dashboard for this work. Here we have a little bit of demo data here to show you that, once you log in, you're going to see where you left off last and what recent activity is, which informs your next action. So what I'll start with is just what the process begins with, which is actually uploading FAFSA data and ISER files to the system in order to determine the eligibility of the student body. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You do this from a campus computer. You'd be able to choose the ISER files that you want to. Today, we're really focused on you uploading the files directly, but in the future, we can actually connect into your SIS system, which is a little bit of a deeper integration, but we can set that up to enable setting up so you're not gonna be able to see this component because this is on my computer, but I'm just selecting a set of ISER files here. I'm gonna upload them. I'm going to choose which programs I want to screen for, which is what's most important to me today. I'm just going to go with SNAP and Medicaid. And there's a little bit of a load time, but you're going to get immediate results. So based on the 120 students that I've uploaded, you get a very quick look at how many are eligible for SNAP, how many are eligible for Medicaid, and sort of like what a estimated potential value of this group if they were all to apply successfully and receive the benefits. So then you're able to actually see this in a table, semi-anonymize the information so that it's just not readily available. On our end, in our systems, all this information is completely encrypted. So both, for those that are familiar, it's encrypted both at rest and in transit. So when it's doing the calculations, we don't have at Impactica nor SBNC access to this information. This is all within your account. And then you're going to have immediate results on what their eligibility status is for these programs. And then this can be automated, but for this demo, we're just going to show where you can take the action yourself. We're going to select all for 20 of the students that are eligible. and start actually sending them the message that they are eligible and that they can find out how to apply. So this gives you just a view of what that editor looks like. You're able to modify this message to your liking, you're able to preview what exactly the student's going to see in their inbox. And then we also have, just as a very quick note here while I'm here, you can have a chat. We have a chatbot that we've actually built for the administrative user, that's built off of what we're using OpenAI, that will be able to help answer questions that you have, but also students may have when they contact you about this work. So this chatbot, which our colleagues at HSAI have been working on, will be able to help answer contextual questions to your specific state, to your specific program, and also potentially, if authorized by the student, actually have view into that information to help you better understand specifically that student's case. So once you've sent the messaging out to all the students, you actually have a quick view of just like what the operations of that messaging is. So you can see how many people you reached out to, how often people have opened it, and how many people have actually gone through the next link. So you'll have that view in real time for everyone that you authorize on your team here. And as you'll see, we'll go to the next student experience next, but you'll have a status at all times of a given student on where they are in their application for one of these given programs, or whether they've actually engaged with the link and the chatbot in seeking out these benefits. We're just going to switch roles now to imagining this has got sent to a student. And this link I'm going to open, which I'm just going to switch. Just bear with me a moment, making sure you can see my screen here. This is actually the website that the student's going to receive in their email or text message. This right now, we're obviously opening on a desktop computer, but this is optimized for a mobile phone. They'll have to do, again, like two-factor authentication to put in a phone number, or they could do it over email or WhatsApp. They'll have to do that confirmation. This is just a demo, and they're going to access what we call their benefits roadmap. So as Owen mentioned, this is going to be a site dedicated to this specific student, Stacy, who's going to be able to see what her specific eligibility is for SNAP and Medicaid in the state of Pennsylvania, where she lives, attending Monsters University. So all of the content here on this page is configurable to sort of your needs as well. We can add in messaging related to supports that your university and institution offers other students. But let's get right to the roadmap. So as Owen mentioned, we're going to highlight what she's eligible for and what she's not. Stacy, in this case, is eligible for SNAP. She's eligible for Medicaid. There's a little bit of details on what the program is, why she's eligible, a little bit of stats on what's going on in her specific campus as well, just in terms of what else is going on other students who might be applying. We have an FAQ section, all of this, which is configurable to also your needs. And as mentioned, we also have what we've called the Navvy AI chatbot, which can help answer questions. And we've tuned this to become, so this is just a demo example, but for the idea here is that it's not just OpenAI as a sort of, if you're familiar with how these bots work, where it's gathering knowledge from the broader world, this is also using our databases on information and rules as it pertains to SNAP for students, SNAP and Medicaid and other benefits programs for students across the 50 states that we've worked with SB&C to develop. So, just for an example, we'll just go with, I am in an employment, training program through my community college. So can I apply for SNAP? And this, again, using OpenAI and our own database, we're able to understand exactly the rules for Pennsylvania as it relates to participating in a program like that and what the student would need to do. And then we set this up to be really sort of like a conversational bot. It can spit out information like this in a very structured manner, but also something that can direct students more clearly, and also respond to sort of just your standard sort of idiomatic speech. So is there a limit on the amount of money I can have to apply, for example? And then yes, so again, we were able to address the asset limit question that applies for SNAP in Pennsylvania in sort of a plain language way that highlights all the reasoning of how exactly it works to a student, but then ultimately gives them the upshot of what it might mean to them. So from here, this tool is persistently available to students at any time. It also can be the mechanism through which, if there are questions to your specific campus, that we can route messages to you. But these are totally private chats that the students can have with our AI bot, that no one else has access to the data necessarily, and they can resume sessions as they see fit. So from here, really, the next operative thing is to actually apply for SNAP. So that's another place where we're able to help by providing them access to a personalized application experience. So again, everything is sort of secured with two-factor authentication across different channels. You'd get this on your cell phone. You'd be able to verify and we explain exactly what the process is like, right? So we're going to help you gather all the information, complete the application, but ultimately the state of Pennsylvania in this case will be making a decision. So we're able to start from scratch, which is letting a student fill everything out, or because we have access to the ICER information and we're able to make some other connections, which we'll show you shortly, we're able to help like pre-populate this application very quickly. So we're going to just go with the existing data. So this is stuff like first name, last name, address. And then we always make sure students know that before completing it using this application, there's certain information they will have to double check and verify for us before proceeding. So we're going to go ahead and continue without review, but just very quick, I'll show you is that when we're able to gather information, we're able to pre-populate certain factors, right? Like first name, last name, date of birth, social security number, citizenship status, marital status, all that's available either through an ICER form, other information you have, or information that the student might have shared in their chats. So we're going to apply just for SNAP here today. And you know that we're in Pennsylvania. We do identity verification. So we enable students to be able to snap a picture of whatever form of government issued ID, which is what's required in this case to apply. We also have them, you're not going to see that here, but you're going to also they're going to do a selfie to do a biometric check against whether that information is actually valid and whether that person is who they say they are. So this is all, imagine loading on a mobile phone. You'll be snapping pictures with the back of your phone and taking a selfie with the front of it. You're able to fill in we already pre-populated a lot of this information, but you're able to check it and edit it if necessary. You can add and remove household members if those exist for you. Then we forward a bunch of the questions that are on Pennsylvania's application right in front of the students so that they're able to answer them really quickly and easily, and then proceed with that information populating the document. We're able to, again, pre-populate information on what they have in terms of what they've had as their previous income. They're able to select additional sources and add it to that. And then we enable verification of this by uploading, let's say, pay stubs to be able to do that. So in our case, Stacy here is a gig economy worker. She drives for Lyft and for Instacart. So we're going to upload a couple of her pay stubs. We'll just start with one actually from Lyft, which I don't know if you can see that last screen, but you're going to be able to see this demo pay stub. And what our system is able to do is actually extract the relevant information from the pay stub and have it detailed here so that when we need to apply this to what their gross pay number is and understanding their, let's say, their pay frequency and deductions, we're able to apply that to their SNAP application really quickly. So normally this is stuff for applicants that they have to do this all themselves. We're looking to automate that through doing a bunch of uploads and snapping some pictures. So we give them the ability to log what their expenses are as it relates to the given program. So in the case of SNAP in Pennsylvania, they want you to understand what your current expenses are on rent and utilities costs. And then if applicable for people over 60 or disabled, you'd be able to input your medical expenses here as well. Now, to automate assets and bank account information, we also do what is a very familiar experience probably from people who use things like Venmo or PayPal, where that first time you sign up, you connect your bank accounts. We actually enable the same thing so that you're able to fetch that information really quickly, and it helps us verify that you are in fact eligible. So Stacy banks with FinBank, which you're going to see here. You're going to see here, put her, just like you would log in with your bank, it'd be stacy@gmail.com. This is her login credentials. She'll connect to her bank, and we're able to retrieve all the information from accounts that Stacy has at FinBank. So we're going to be able to then see all the information that is shared through her bank accounts here in bank balances, savings accounts, and retirement accounts that she might have. And here we have listed all of her expenses, and we have verified her employment. So she's pretty much ready to go and finish her application. So that's where we show Stacy at this final step the actual benefits application for Pennsylvania. So this is like a fillable PDF version, which she's able to review all the details that were pertinent to her application. So this is understanding Stacy as a single person applying for SNAP as a college student, has only certain required fields within this, and we're able to populate it with the information that we've gathered over the last few minutes. So Pennsylvania is a state that has a quick application where you could just sign twice and you're good to go with this amount of information. But we also have all the supporting information, and it's ready for Stacy to be able to put an electronic signature on. And via a mail API that's supported by the United States Postal Service, we're actually able to submit the application on behalf of Stacy. Now, she's able to track her progress just in terms of what she's done on this. and recognize the date back on her roadmap page. And then I'm just going to very quickly swap over and just make sure that you're able to follow me here to the dashboard where the administrators can see what the application status will be of a given student. They can see that the student has opened it and began it, or somebody has submitted it, or is pretty much still in progress. So that's really the end-to-end experience of what we're offering here, is that administrators are able to really quickly identify hundreds of students who might be eligible, do the outreach on their own, and then configure all the messaging to go out in an automated fashion, or things that might need a little bit of human touch to be able to flag those easily so that you're able to manage the workflow of students that need assistance on a more one-to-one basis. But that's really what we've envisioned here with the team at SB&C. So I'll leave them to prompt any other questions you might have.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for giving us a rundown, Kavan, as to how the platform works and how different users would interact with it. Hopefully that helped everyone kind of visualize how this works and the potential impact that this could have on your campus. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll go through the next couple slides we have, and then we'll probably wrap up early here and have any time for questions or thoughts that folks have that they want to share in the chat. Can you all see the screen? Great. Okay, so that was the demo. Next, we'll talk a little bit about legal compliance. So as some of you were probably watching this presentation, I'm sure some of you have some questions as to data privacy and making sure that everything is compliant with the really stringent requirements that the federal government puts on student data, our FAFSA data or ICER data. We have worked very carefully in developing this tool to make sure that we are compliant with all the expectations that the Department of Education has given or has set, as well as federal law. So institutions like the ones that you all, or many of you on the call represent, are permitted to disclose FAFSA data for the application, award, and administration of financial aid. Additionally, or universities are allowed to disclose FAFSA data when an organization is conducting research on behalf of the institution to administer student aid and programs. So it has been established that SNAP falls within the definition of financial aid for these purposes. And essentially, the top line is everything in the way that we are using the data, managing the data. As Kavan said, the data doesn't really leave your system. Any identifiable data does not leave your institution's system. Makes this tool compliant with federal law, and we're happy to dive in more deeply if you want us, if you're interested in bringing the tool to your campus and have additional questions or concerns. Happy to answer them on, because I know every school has specific individual questions that they may have about this process and some of the implications of it. But our AI tool is designed specifically for these purposes and working with students, working with federal financial aid data, because we do this to help institutions improve their outreach and connect students to financial assistance, which again has been designated by the Department of Education and the feds as an appropriate use of or use case for this data. So that's kind of all the presentation that we have for you all today. You can use this QR code, but we'll also send out a link where you can sign up to potentially use Navvy on your campus. We would love for you to fill this out, and we'll follow up with you with more information as to how we can get this set up on your campus. We are also specifically looking for campuses to pilot the tool starting this semester and over the summer. Institutions that are interested in the pilot that would give full access to all of the tool's features. We're able to provide that at no cost to your institution. So if you're interested in trying out Navvy on your campus, please make sure to sign up today. You can use this QR code, and again, we will send out more information. We're here for some questions and be able to provide some answers. I'll stop sharing the screen. Paige, anything that I left out that you want to add on?
No, I think that sounds great. There's a couple questions in the Q&A box.
Okay, great. Questions for me?
Sure, yeah, I think for anyone. Let's see, the first one asked, how do you program in the specific state requirements to ensure that the program is tailored to each state's benefit requirements? So yeah, Owen, do you want to take that?
Yeah. So If you go look up on the internet a spreadsheet of all of the state-by-state comparisons for college student SNAP eligibility, you'll come up empty. There's not any organization that is like compiling and updating this information regularly or really at all. So what we had to do was actually go state by state. And just so folks know, my background is I'm an attorney, I'm a licensed attorney, and we did a really big analysis of every single state, how they're interpreting the federal SNAP guidelines. There's some discretion that states have, so we made sure to make sure that that was captured in our database. And then we did that state by state comparison of all the different ways that SNAP can be interpreted by states, figured out how states are interpreting it, and then that formed a big database that then these AI tools, they're pulling information from that database. So what we do now that we have this tool, is regularly update any changes that states make to how they administer SNAP for college students, so we stay on top of it and are constantly monitoring changes as they arise. I know a lot of folks are probably nervous that like, oh, do we really want to start doing SNAP work because that's tied to federal dollars? And with everything going on with the federal government right now, it can be challenging to make plans reliant on what the federal government is going to do or not do. We are also closely monitoring anything that the Congress or the administration may do to SNAP. You know, there's been talk of cutting benefits. We haven't seen any of that come to fruition yet, but if any changes do arise, we'll be able to update the logic of this Navvy tool very, very quickly, like within a day. So staying on top of all these laws is really important. And that's a great question. And that's something that we're really on top of. What other questions do we got?
A second question that was, I think we both typed a little bit of an answer to this already, but I think explaining this could be helpful. Does the FAFSA/ICER information take family information into account, like parents' income, when auto-populating? SNAP doesn't require that information.
So not when auto-populating, no. It actually takes parents' information into account if on the FAFSA form that it's indicated that the household that the student came from does utilize services like SNAP or Medicaid or SSI. So that we use just as an indicator for potential eligibility, but the parents' financial information is not factored into the eligibility calculation for the student themselves, if that makes sense.
And then how many college campuses currently use this service? Owen, do you know the answer to that? How many colleges have we been talking to?
Yeah, so right now, I would say around 50 campuses have like a Navvy system built out on their campus. They don't have this full system because this is a more advanced version of the tool, but they have at least the basic system built out and are using it. And that basic system is, instead of pulling student information, and figuring out if they're eligible and helping them apply, it's more the old school method I was telling you all about earlier. Is administrators or students are doing direct outreach to the population on the campus, asking them to fill out a screener to figure out if they're eligible, and then it helps them apply using the same mechanisms that you all saw on the back end. Great question.
Have we worked with or floated this by any of the state agencies that oversee SNAP benefits to get their input on the tool?
Yes, so we've talked to numerous state agencies, and we've also have been, and the tool is newer, as especially this element is newer, as was alluded to earlier. But we are working with several state like higher ed departments too, to get the tool implemented on their campuses and work with them to develop more of a close relationship with those benefits allocation agencies, typically human services departments in states.
Then the last question that I see here is a FAFSA application on file a prerequisite for determining students' eligibility?
No. So it would be a requirement to use like the Navvy AI element. So if a student doesn't have FAFSA data on file, or you don't have access to that information, this tool could not, identify them as a potentially eligible student and help through the process of enrolling. But what we would do in that case is, if you have students that don't have FAFSA information on file, or you don't have access to it, you can use the old school method of just sending out the screener. The screener takes about 5 or 10 minutes for a student to fill out and guides them through the process of figuring out if they're eligible, and then spits out at the end whether or not that student is likely eligible and how much money that student is eligible for. So we wouldn't be able to use like the automated identification of that student, but they would be able to use the rest of the platform. And look,
All right, I was going to ask if Ariel or Kavan had anything to add about that.
Sorry about that. Muted. I think the goal is to really start campuses off on third base, really make the process as streamlined as possible to provide an engagement tool with their students and make it as simple as possible for students to apply on their own time for benefits. We've tried to make the process as automated as possible, which is, I think, one of the big hindrances to people signing up for SNAP, and is they have to go gather all this information manually. And people are used to like signing up for things like PayPal or Venmo, or students feel very comfortable connecting accounts they may have and really like doing the work that if they've uploaded documents, instead of them having to go fill in all the specific fields in these forms, that we'll help them with the calculations. And the whole goal here is to really make it a really user-friendly environment. If there's any questions at any point, you can always ask the chatbot. It'll answer as specifically as possible, given the state that you're in. And the goal is really to sort of take some of the challenges that people have, which is like finding all this information and making it sort of at their fingertips. So I think that's, and the goal is to really engage universities and really allow them to offer this as a tool completely branded for their own experience. I know it says Monsters University, but just imagine your own university name, logo, colors, this looks like it's completely coming from the university, and the ability to sort of track individual students, make sure that people that need follow-up get the follow-up. One of the things that Kavan was showing was the messaging center. You can decide how often you want to message. If people haven't moved forward from knowing that they're eligible to starting their application, we can prompt communication to them directly. And it's always at the administrator's fingertips to really know where their students are and really help them if they need to reach out to them directly in person or through a phone call. They always know where the student stands at any given moment. That's really the goal of what we're trying to help SBNC and Navvy create. It's like something that is new for students and something that really engages students the way they want to be engaged these days digitally.
Does the AI assistant have any accuracy limitations or hallucinations?
So the way that the chatbot is configured is that we're not allowing just a sort of access just the pure open web to provide answers. We have, when it comes to topics like student eligibility, for example, or state rules around these programs, as Owen mentioned, we've spent a lot of time compiling all of those rules and making that information accessible to the chatbot, so that it verifies that as its primary source first. Secondarily, it'll check, like its instinct the way it's built is it will check official sources like the state itself. So that's its backstop before going to the broader web. So we've attempted to limit inaccuracies and hallucinations of guidance specifically with that, which has definitely been a painstaking process and has involved a lot of testing, but we're still always going to be improving it as well, just because, as Owen mentioned, sometimes these rules do evolve. So that's very much what our job is in our partnership with SBNC is keeping track and updating those rules in our own systems to ensure that the bot is always active.
Thank you. I think those are all the questions that are in the Q&A or chat right now, but we'll be on for a couple more minutes if anyone else has anything else that they want to know.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for hopping on. We really appreciate your interest in learning more about our tool here and a little bit more about SBNC and the work that we do. Again, we'll be sending out some follow-up information probably later today or tomorrow related to the tool and next steps if you want to try it out on your campus as part of the pilot or using other iterations of our tool.